Look at this room. It is made of 6 tons of pure, prehistoric amber. It is lined with gold leaf, decorated with mirrors, and worth over $500 million. In 1941, it was the greatest treasure on Earth. In 1945, it vanished. And today, everyone who has tried to find it has either disappeared or died. This isn't just a story about lost art. This is a journey into a 300-year-old mystery that has baffled the KGB, the Stasi, and the world's most elite treasure hunters. It was called the eighth wonder of the world, a gift between kings, a prize for a dictator, and a ghost that haunts the ruins of World War II. But why did Hitler risk everything to steal it? And where did 27 massive crates of gold simply disappear to in the middle of a burning city? As you watch this, remember one thing. The Amber Room carries a curse. From mysterious car crashes to ritualistic murders in the German forests, the trail of the missing gold is paved with the bodies of those who got too close to the truth. Is it hidden in a secret Nazi bunker? Is it at the bottom of the Baltic Sea? Or is it still being guarded by someone who doesn't want the world to find it? In the next 25 minutes, we are going to do what no one else has done. We are going to look at declassified files, secret tunnel systems, and the final chilling testimony of the last man who saw the room alive. We are moving beyond the myths to find the reality. This is the most detailed investigation ever conducted into the eighth wonder of the world. I am Robert, and this is GriotVibe. Fasten your seatbelts, turn off the lights, and prepare to enter the golden shadows of history. This is the eternity of amber. History is filled with treasures that have been lost to the sands of time, but none carry the weight, the beauty, or the dark mystery of the Amber Room. Imagine, if you can, a chamber where the walls do not merely reflect light, they breathe it. 6 tons of fossilized resin, millions of years in the making, carved by the greatest masters of Europe, and backed by shimmering gold leaf to create a glow so divine it was called the eighth wonder of the world. For 200 years, it was the beating heart of the Russian Empire, a place where czars and emperors displayed their absolute power. But, as the proverb goes, all that glitters is not gold. Sometimes it is amber, and amber carries a heavy price. In the middle of the most destructive war in human history, this golden masterpiece was stolen by Nazi Germany. And then, in the final smoke-filled days of 1945, it vanished. It did not just leave a palace, it left reality itself. Since then, it has become the ultimate ghost treasure, a $500 million mystery that has led to madness, obsession, and even death for those who tried to find it. I am Aljanib, and tonight on GriotVibe, we are not just telling a story, we are investigating the greatest unsolved crime in the history of art. This is the complete, terrifying, and brilliant saga of the missing Amber Room. To understand the room, we must understand the material. Amber is not a gemstone in the traditional sense. It is organic. It is the lifeblood of prehistoric trees that lived over 40 to 50 million years ago in the Baltic region. When these ancient pines were injured, they bled a thick, golden resin to heal themselves. Over millions of years, this resin was buried under layers of earth and sea, where heat and pressure transformed it into the hard, translucent substance we know today. To the ancient Greeks, it was electron, the source of electricity. To the Vikings, it was the gold of the north. It is a material that traps time itself. Often we find prehistoric insects, leaves, and even small lizards frozen forever inside its golden depths. But amber is also incredibly temperamental. It is soft enough to carve, but brittle enough to shatter with a single wrong move. It reacts to heat, it reacts to smoke, and it ages like a living thing. This was the impossible medium that King Frederick I of Prussia chose for his greatest project in 1701. He wanted a room that was literally made of prehistoric time. The construction of the Amber Room began in the Charlottenburg Palace in Berlin. King Frederick I was obsessed with the Baroque style, a style defined by grandiosity, drama, and gold. He hired the Danish master carver Gottfried Wolfram, and later the German masters Ernst Schacht and Gottfried Thurau. For over a decade, these men worked in secrecy. They had to invent new tools just to handle the massive panels of amber. They didn't just glue pieces together. They used a technique called intarsia, where thousands of tiny, uniquely shaped pieces of amber were fitted together like a giant glowing jigsaw puzzle. They used various shades, from pale, milky yellow to deep, blood-red cherry, to create shadows and depth without using paint. The panels were backed with thin sheets of silver and gold leaf to amplify the light. When the first panels were finished, the king was speechless. It was the absolute pinnacle of human craftsmanship. But the king died before the room was fully installed, and his son, Frederick William I, was a man of war, not art. He saw the room not as a masterpiece, but as a political asset. In 1716, Europe was a chessboard of shifting alliances. Prussia needed the support of the Russian Empire to defeat Sweden in the Great Northern War. Peter the Great, the towering Tsar of Russia, visited Berlin and was captivated by the amber panels. He had a famous love for everything modern and Western. Frederick William I, known as the Soldier King, saw a chance to win Peter's heart. In a move that shocked the European courts, he gifted the entire Amber Room to Russia. In return, Peter gave the king 55 of his tallest Russian soldiers for the king's giant guard. It was a trade of art for muscle. The room was dismantled, packed into 18 massive crates, and sent on a grueling 700-mile journey via horse-drawn sleds to the new Russian capital of St. Petersburg. For Peter, the room was proof that Russia had finally joined the ranks of the great European powers. It was installed in the Winter Palace, but its journey was far from over. The room reached its true glory under the reign of the Empresses. Empress Elizabeth, Peter's daughter, moved the room to the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo in 1755. But the room was designed for a smaller space in Berlin. To make it fit the massive halls of the Russian palace, she hired the genius Italian architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli. Rastrelli was the master of the Russian Baroque. He didn't just install the room, he expanded it into a 100-square-foot marvel. He added 24 massive mirrors and gilded carvings of angels and flowers between the amber panels. He commissioned Florentine mosaics made of precious stones like lapis lazuli and quartz to be embedded into the amber. By the time he was done, the room contained over 6 tons of amber and was valued at nearly $500 million in today's money. For the next 200 years, the Romanovs used this room for their most important ceremonies. It was here that they received foreign kings and queens, who would stand in stunned silence as the glow of 565 candles reflected off the gold and amber, creating an atmosphere that felt like heaven on earth. The tragedy began on June 22, 1941. Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest land invasion in history. As the German tanks, the Panzers, raced toward Leningrad, the Russian curators at the Catherine Palace were in a state of panic. They tried to dismantle the Amber Room to move it to the Ural Mountains, but the heat from the palace's radiators over the centuries had made the amber incredibly dry and brittle. As soon as they touched a panel, it began to crumble into dust. In a desperate, final attempt to save the room, they tried to hide it in plain sight. They covered the amber walls with layers of wallpaper, cotton, and gauze, hoping the Nazi soldiers would mistake it for an ordinary, unfinished room. But Hitler had prepared for this. He had created the Einsatzstab Reichsleiter Rosenberg, a specialized unit of art historians and soldiers whose only job was to loot the treasures of Europe. When they entered the Catherine Palace in October 1941, they tore the wallpaper down within minutes. They were art experts. They knew exactly what they were looking at. In just 36 hours, they dismantled the 8th wonder of the world, packed it into 27 crates, and shipped it back to Germany. The crates arrived at Königsberg Castle. the ancestral home of the Prussian kings. The Nazis claimed they were liberating German art. The room was reassembled and put on display for 3 years. The museum director, Dr. Alfred Rode, was a man obsessed with amber. He watched over the room like a hawk as the war began to turn against Germany. In 1944, the British Royal Air Force launched a series of firebombing raids on Königsberg. The city became an inferno. Rode claimed he had moved the crates into the deep stone cellars of the castle. In April 1945, the Soviet Red Army began its final brutal assault on the city. They fought street by street, building by building. When they finally captured the castle, it was a smoking ruin. The Soviet investigators immediately searched the cellars, but they found only ashes and debris. Alfred Rode told them the room had burned, but the Soviets didn't believe him. There was no residue of 6 tons of melted resin. The room hadn't burned, it had been moved. But where? Since that day in 1945, the Amber Room has been a ghost that leaves a trail of dead men. Georg Stein, one of the most famous treasure hunters in history, spent his life following leads. In 1987, he told friends he was days away from the discovery of a lifetime. Shortly after, he was found dead in a German forest, his stomach cut open in a bizarre ritualistic manner. Anatoly Kuchumov, the curator who had failed to save the room in 1941, spent 40 years investigating every lead, dying in poverty and obsession. Even high-ranking KGB officers who were tasked with finding the room died in accidental car crashes or suffered sudden heart attacks. Many believe that Odessa, a secret organization of former SS officers, moved the room to a secret bunker or a salt mine to fund a future Fourth Reich. Others believe it was loaded onto the Wilhelm Gustloff, a ship that was sunk by a Soviet submarine, taking the gold and 9,000 lives to the bottom of the Baltic Sea. The theories are endless, but the crates remain lost in the silence of history. In 2003, for the 300th anniversary of St. Petersburg, a perfect reconstruction of the Amber Room was opened. It took 24 years and $12 million to complete. It is beautiful, but as the curators say, it is a room without a soul. The original Amber, with its 40-million-year-old prehistoric secrets and its 300 years of royal whispers, is still out there. It remains the ultimate symbol of what war does to humanity. It destroys the things we cannot replace. The Amber Room is a reminder that some treasures are so great that they belong to the ages, not to men. Whether it lies in a flooded mine, a sunken ship, or a forgotten bunker, the legend of the Eighth Wonder will never fade. I am Aljanib, and this is GriotVibe. If you enjoyed this 25-minute journey into the heart of history, like this video and subscribe to join our community of investigators. Tell us in the comments, do you think the room still exists, or is it truly lost to the fire? Until next time, keep searching for the truth.